DNVR Avalanche Podcast. We got Eric, we got AJ, we got Rudo as the Avs win in overtime over the Dallas Stars 4-3 in a preseason game that was a little all over the place. You got a little bit of everything in this hockey game. Avs dominated early. Things got weird very quickly. And then they only got weirder until the Avs won in overtime. Kind of a fun game, as Chad is already talking about. I've been told that AJ's about to overreact to an absurd level.
Let's see it.
Yeah.
I'm sure Eric will have his takes too, so I'll try to be Mr. Calm on this show. I make no promises about anything, though. Should we start with the guys trying to make team, or should we start with the NHLers, boys? What do we think?
NHLers.
NHLers?
Sure.
All right.
Sounds good.
Turns out Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen are still pretty good. They kind of did whatever they wanted for a large portion of this game.
Yeah.
My question with those two, honestly, what percentage are they at tonight? Are they going 70, 80, 90?
I mean, they were okay. I mean, you can tell. I had a little bit of rust. I thought they tried like they always do. You can tell MacKinnon is so much better than anybody else on that ice. And you can tell Mikko was just a little bit off. A shot was a little bit off. You know what I mean? Like, he's a 50-goal scorer, right? So if he was bang on, he could have scored 3. He was just like that one shift, remember? Like, he got 3 on the short side.
Yep.
Didn't go in. But it was great to see them get some rust off. It was great to see them on the ice at home Sunday after, 5 o'clock.
Oh,
I have no bones to pick with those guys. But I mean, to answer your question, I'd be like, I don't know, maybe 80%, 75%,
All I'm saying is I saw that change at the end of overtime, and I was like, oh, they do not care if they lose this game. Okay.
Yeah. It wouldn't have happened in the regular season game, yeah.
But you saw that move from MacKinnon.
That's
He
true.
was going 100 during that move. And then after that, geared it back
0
down. Yeah.
after that.
He geared it down real quick after that.
Oh, you could tell there was, 5 minutes left, remember? Like, we're good. You know what I mean? Probably looked at Coach Bednar like, yeah, we're fine. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, overtime. Let's go practice our 3-on-3. Right?
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was exciting.
Have we reconfirmed to never put Mikko and MacKinnon out there together in 3-on-3 from this game? Or
My working theory remains sound.
I got to hear it because I don't know that one.
That's it? You just heard it?
You just heard it?
Don't play those two together in 3-on-3 because they're both dumb. Something about 3-on-3 breaks both of their brains, and one of them is gonna have an epic brain fart, and it's gonna cost them the game. But it doesn't happen if they're out there with an adult and not each other. That's all it is. That's the whole theory.
I like it.
you also had Lehkonen in this game, who I thought had some good moments too. Some nice passes to set up people that couldn't finish goals.
Still does not have a breakaway move.
He does not have a breakaway move. True.
This is why Ben Myers will never have an assist in the NHL. Not even in a preseason game.
At what point is it Ben Myers' fault? All right.
I mean, that's a great stretch pass. 60 feet, tape to tape.
At what point do the other players go, I don't care how good he plays. He's cursed. I can't score if he passes me the puck.
More cursed, Ben Myers or this studio tonight?
Oh, God. This studio is pretty cursed tonight. It's pretty cursed. Yeah, we might have actual ghosts, Tiff.
Oh, yeah. You
Back there.
weren't here for the power going out and then stuff falling off the walls?
I've already had a hard day. Don't make it harder.
It was pretty weird.
But the guy everyone wants to talk about, Jonathan Drouin, had a pretty darn good game tonight. Sets up the game-winning goal.
Yeah, take it or leave it.
Okay, yeah, right, brother. Is this a glimpse of what we're going to see to start the season? Is it Drouin, MacKinnon, Rantanen, line 1?
It fucking should be. I mean, look, I'm going to wildly overreact to this, okay?
All right.
I'm sorry. I understand. I'm always the guy that's like, we got to hold our horses. We got to chill. It's a preseason. We can't make too much of it. But we have an actual adult over here now. The chains are off of me. I'm free. I'm like the genie in Aladdin when the cuffs come off.
Oh, God.
I've been let out. Jonathan Drouin rules. He rules.
He's good.
He is going to be so good this year, based entirely off of a preseason game next to 2 world-class players. He's unbelievable. The guy, and like, he's not going to make an all-star team or anything because nobody does anymore. But how do you not look at what Duran did tonight and think that's completely sustainable? Like the vision and the creativity, the play with the puck. This is a thing that still needs to continue to be worked on, but he's a completely different player with the puck than without.
Well, you can tell the weight of the world has been lifted right off his shoulders. It's like we talked about. It's a little bit, you French kid in Montreal, you're trapped in there. It is tough if things aren't going well. And we know things didn't go well for him the last couple seasons. He had decent seasons at the start when he was there. And then all you heard about was that Sergachev trade and it's a bad trade. And then, just things just came downhill a little bit much, Then the last couple of years were tough. But if you look at him tonight, he was a different player. You haven't seen him play like that the last few years. Like you said, with the puck, he had the means to just make some plays. He even ran into MacKinnon one time, or they ran into each
the
other.
opposite of a good play.
That was actually hilarious.
That was funny. Yeah, you could tell he was free out there. He was just dancing. Woo! He was having
First
fun.
shift of the game, man.
Yeah.
He drives the net.
Yeah.
This is the first time he's driven in the net in 4 years.
He could have scored 3 goals easily tonight if things,
If he could hit the net.
Well, where he threw that backhand right in the chest there on the mini breakaway. But I thought he was free. I thought he was good. Yes, I agree with you. I see why you're excited, and I am the adult, like you said. But I see you guys have been. I'll give them credit. Those two have been talking about it last few weeks. How Duran's going to be great with MacKinnon and. Whether it's Rantanen, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe it is that line.
The thing about that I found so exciting is that what made him great tonight had nothing to do with Nathan MacKinnon, had nothing to do with Mikko Rantanen. It was about him being awesome, being electric with the puck, being creative, being dangerous. You said dancing. It's the perfect way to describe it. He was dancing with the puck. He was just the word creative is what comes to mind, but it's not powerful enough. Because he was awesome. You can see the vision, the way that he sees the ice. You can see where he's going to be a wonderful fit in Colorado's ultra aggressive attack mentality. He's going to have passing lanes for days for guys because he's going to have 2 defensemen behind him that, as long as he's not in the ice with Czech Johnson, is going to be a full send mentality at all times. He's never going to be alone with the puck trying to go, okay, well, where's my help? There's always going to be somebody there for him to find in open space. And the space that he had with the puck tonight, he could have had 3 goals tonight. I mean, the guy, he had 2 goals last year. So obviously, we need to beat some goalies here. There's got to be a little bit of goal scoring that gets built up that he gets back to doing on a regular basis. Because I don't care how great the playmaking is. If he only scores 8 goals, it's a pretty big disappointment in the top 6 job.
Well, if he has 60 assists,
but okay, fair enough. But just the way that his play jumps off the ice, and I get that this is not the Stars lineup. These are he's not
the one place I would pump the brakes is particularly that defense.
Yeah, he's not going out there going against Lindell and Heiskanen and Suter and those cats. I don't care, man. I just don't. What you saw tonight is a really good NHL player, and he looks free is a great word for it. He looks excited to get going. He looks like a totally different guy than the one that I watched on tape in Montreal, who looked bogged down.
And there were 2 things there for me that really stood out. One, he had a couple of really nice defensive plays tonight, including a couple of takeaways at his own blue line. And that was one of the biggest concerns I think people had with him was where is that defensive side? And I'm not saying it's going to be great. I'm not saying he's going to be that guy.
Sure. You're not going to confuse him with Val Nichushkin.
Right. But if he can give you passable play on that side, you're chilling. And then the other side of it, you kind of mentioned his drive to the net early in the game. They also used him as the goalie fronting guy on the power play. If he's willing to go to those areas and do that work for Colorado, it's going to work.
Just that job, I think in particular, is probably more of a miscasting for him.
I agree, and I would not like to keep him there. But the fact that he was willing to do it,
and Taves scored.
Yeah, he screened the goalie on Taves' goal. Let's go. He's fitting in.
Yeah.
And I thought on that the power play did a good job, like you said, net front, and he didn't even move. He's still looking at the goalie and the puck's in the net. So he was really, in there solid, meaning like, this is what I'm doing right now. This is what I'm being used for in this power play. Like you said, it might be a miscast, whatever it was. But then in overtime, I know it's not Heiskanen, but he does create room for.
He drags both guys to him.
Yeah,
creates
he,
that room.
he canes the blue line,
Goes
right?
to the net.
Goes, pushes the D back. Oscar gets it. He's got room to get off a great shot that he has, right?
And that's a nasty shot, but all of it starts with Duran.
Yeah.
Yep.
He creates all that space that Oscar has because that's Duran. He drops that puck and goes to the net. It's a bad exchange between those defensemen. They way too big of a gap there for Olausson, and
Well, it's the intelligence too, right? How many times in overtime in this game, how many times did we watch Mac try to go out wide and do it? And he's Nathan MacKinnon, so he damn near did it about 4 times.
Sure.
But Druin understands the play, understands he has Olausson coming up the ice, cuts to the middle to get both defensemen to close to him, and creates that space by doing so.
And you go back to Druin, like you were talking about, playing at his own end. I don't think Jonathan Druin is a dumb player. You know what I mean? I'm talking about, we all know about the offensive capabilities.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a dumb player. I think he has quickness to his reads, even though he's a forward, not a D. But I'm saying that I think it's going to come down to a level of commitment in his own end, right? Where he lost it a little bit, right? Or maybe early in his career didn't really have that commitment, and that's why he didn't really fit in with Cooper. I do believe he can get it here, and I do believe, and we talk about culture all the time, he's going to have to follow the culture and the lead that his buddy Nathan MacKinnon has established, especially him the last few years, but Kale, Mikko, and everybody has followed suit. So I think that I haven't seen that. I've seen some commitment in a couple games. He's played 2, right?
Yeah.
That was the second one. I've seen some commitment out of his game. Not just with the puck, but without the puck. And I thought that was a good start for him in that sense.
Yeah, I don't know how you can't be anything but excited for Druin, even if you're like me and saying it's only preseason, don't make too much of it. You can only do as well as you can do in that situation, and Druin can't do a whole lot more than he's done so far this preseason. So,
yeah, I mean, he's got points in each of the games, and
Yep.
he looks certainly more important than preseason scoring is really not an important thing, but. What looks great is that what we thought was going to work looks like it's going to work.
For sure.
And yeah, we have to get into real games. We have to get into a nitty gritty. We have to see what he looks like on a bad night.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of NHLers look awesome when they have their best
day.
games.
Yeah. Just ask Kivi Ranta.
Yeah, exactly. But, what is how can a guy help a team when he's not having a good night?
Yeah.
When it's a bad night for him? We need to see that stuff still from him. But for right now, it can be guarded optimism, but right now it should still be optimism that, oh boy, it looks good. It looks good.
And look, I think the only NHLer you don't feel great about after this game is maybe Georgiev, and even that, I'm not saying worry about him or anything. He'll be fine. He was just not the best game from him.
That's and that's not even one that's one where that is one where, hey, when it works in your behalf, you shrug it off and you say it's the preseason. Who cares?
Yep.
There you go.
When you want it to count, you can decide to make it
Allow
count.
it to count. Yeah.
Exactly.
Kind of a bit of a weird lineup at times tonight because you did have some of those top guys in, and you saw guys rotating in, guys like Olausson, guys like Tufte. Olausson got some time up there too. So it was a little bit all over the place with who was playing with who. AJ, I know you were going through the possession metrics before the show. How did it end up? Because I know the Avs dominated the first, and then Dallas kind of brought it together at the second and third periods.
The Avs were still on top. They were the better team. Look at those lineups. It's not a big surprise.
Sure, there's some context there.
Yeah. Guys that you wanted to see good nights from.
Yep.
Riley Tufte, Sam Malinsky.
Yep.
Those guys had really, really solid nights in the underlings. Obviously. Just to the eyes, Riley Tufte, I had another good night.
We'll talk about him.
Frederick Olausson is another one that had a solid showing as well. So
Yep.
You continue to feel like that is your roster battle is now featuring guys putting a best foot forward.
Yep.
And not guys where you're like, well, he's going to win it by default. Because a couple days ago, you're talking about, well, Curtis McDermott's probably your 13th forward because you think you're going to lose him on waivers, and because he brings all these elements to your team that are different. Plus he's played pretty well in the preseason. He's got a couple of points. Well, now you've got Riley Tufte competing with him directly for that 13th forward spot, and I think that's a pretty good competition right now. And that's the iron sharpens iron conversation of, when you have competition like that, you want to see guys raise their game and meet that moment. And a guy that you probably didn't see as much from tonight that you wanted to see was Ben Myers.
Yep. And even for Ben, I think there are good things to take away from this game. The feed to Lecky to give him the breakaway that he couldn't finish was great. He had a couple of nice defensive plays, and then he also had some struggles. There is not a coach on planet Earth that sees an offensive zone penalty and goes, I want that guy on my team.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But it's also, like you just said, like it's easy to say, the argument of, it's only an exhibition or you know what I mean, Georgiev, you can use it, But if you want to make sure that Ben Myers is your fourth line center, then you can use that argument. But if you want him to not be your fourth line center, then you can use the opposite. That's a bad penalty.
Little different for a guy that's on the roster bubble versus the guy that
I know
he will be your number one on opening night and moving forward. He's going to play 55, 60 games for you.
So it's like
Ben Myers is like, right now, if you told him he was going to play 60 games, he would sign up for that.
Yeah, it's always different, right? I mean, I don't care what people say. Different standards for it is. It's life. It's okay. But if we go back to that, I thought Tufte and Olausson. Let's not get confused here.
Olausson or
Olausson?
Freddie or
number
Oscar.
22, not 24. Fourth line center, right? In that spot. And I thought he was outstanding. I really liked this game. I like his game's heavy. Tufte, and then who was it? Kiviranta, right?
Yep.
Kiviranta was with them. I thought they had brilliant. They were brilliant at some times. You know what I mean? Obviously they scored. What is it? 2 goals.
Both Tufte. Well, Tufte scored the 5-on-5 one.
And then
Olausson had the power play goal.
So they have a couple goals, but then you look at it, and you and me were talking. It's 5 minutes left. We're like, okay, Mac's packing it in, Rantanen's packing it in. So then these guys are there. Let's see how they can handle pressure from.
And the game
was
tied.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
And next thing you know, the game's tied. So you failed your assignment there, right? It's just the way it is, right? But those are the things you have. I always say, like, scoring goals are awesome, but also you got to be able to make sure that if you're going to play in this lineup, they're not going to play a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
And you got to make sure that if you're there, you got to be counted upon that. And it's not playing safe, I'm saying, but you don't want to get scored on. You don't want to, you know what I mean? So it was funny to see tonight that as much as they passed, a lot of tests up, on the offensive side of things, they were given one assignment there at the end. And, again, I'm not saying it's their fault, but somehow the puck's in your net.
Certainly
right?
didn't help that the reliable one in Logan O'Connor is the guy who turned the puck over to start the shift with the second goal against.
Second one,
I do want to get more into these guys, the roster battle the chat is talking about. But first, we are brought to you by FOCO. You can go over to FOCO.com today and use the DNVR code to get 10% off all of the sports merch you need, whether it's licensed apparel, bobbleheads, pins, Crocs, you name it. They've got all sorts of sweet stuff over at FOCO with your favorite team on it. Doesn't even have to be a Colorado team. They got all of the United States covered for the major sports. So go check them out. If you're a fan of a weird team, like if you're Chris Gibson and want to wear your Seattle Kraken mask with your Dallas Stars jersey.
How funny was that?
Right? I was cracking up when I saw it.
Cracking up?
Anyway.
I knew that wasn't intentional.
Get out to FOCO.com today. Use the DNVR code to get your sports merch and 10% off. We're also brought to you by Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. You're actually allowed to drink a Broncos country in happiness today because they did win a game. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't against a good team, but they did win.
So did the Rockies.
So did the Rockies. Took them 11 innings. They wanted this baseball season to last as long as they possibly could make it.
It was fun.
Hey, take it where you can get it, all right?
Agree.
This game was also fun for a preseason game. Go to breckbrew.com. You can find your Breck Brew at a local liquor store near you with a Breck beer locator online, whether it be a Broncos country, whether it be an Avalanche Amber, you name it, they've got a beer for you. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Let's talk about this. AJ, you were alluding to Tufte potentially taking a 13th forward role with Colorado.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a weird spot, right? Because in the starting lineup, they need a center.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear based on this preseason, Tufte is not that.
Yeah.
Which leaves Frederick Olausson and Ben Myers as the main two fighting for that job.
Yeah, it is interesting because you're talking about two different battles for two different jobs.
Right.
Assuming Cogliano is healthy for opening night, Cogliano, LOC are going to be on your fourth line wings.
That's automatic.
Assuming the forward core that we've seen
no injuries happen over the next week. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously there will be injuries as the season goes on, and all of these guys are going to play for the Avs. But at the moment, it's two different battles because you have Myers and Olofsson battling for the 4C job.
And then Tufte and Olausson.
And the loser probably isn't on the roster.
Sure. They're playing 1C or whatever in Loveland.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other one is Tufte.
Olausson.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really Tufte. For me, it's Tufte versus McDermott.
Yeah. Sure. I mean,
And the
Olausson battle's a longer term thing.
Yeah,
he's going to end up in
like Oscar Olausson, I guess, it is like he's somewhere in there.
Just as another winger.
Yeah, and I guess if you wanted to, Kiviranta would be in that conversation too. But
sure.
It's basically you have a 4C job that's open. That guy will play on opening night, and then the loser probably not on your roster.
Yeah.
And
then the auxiliary forward job.
Yeah, and then the whatever.
Yeah.
The 13th guy.
Yeah.
So that, and I guess if Myers wins that job and it's Frederick Olofsson, he can play all three spots, and maybe that gives him an advantage. But
sure,
if it's the other way around, I don't think Ben Myers is making it over Curtis McDermott or Riley Tufte. So,
well, I mean, let me start here. Who right now, this second, who's your inside track for the 4C job? Is it Myers or Olofsson?
It's Olofsson.
Okay.
His versatility, but he's also just outplayed him.
Scored a goal tonight.
I mean, even if we just ignore scoring period and look 100% at what have they been doing in their games, it's Olofsson. Olofsson has looked the same in both games. He looks like he can play with the kind of pace that the Avalanche want. He plays with a little bit of enough of a physical snarl that Jared Bednar will grow to trust him, and he can contribute all over the ice. Yeah, he's a little limited offensively, but he does all those other things for you. And in theory, him being between LOC and Cogliano is just a natural fourth line.
I agree. I mean, I think it comes down to asset management. Unfortunately for Ben, he doesn't have to clear waivers. That's just the nature of the beast. That's just the way it is. Now, again, I'm going to go like this. I'm going to knock on wood. That's a nice wood chest, all right? So we're dealing with no injuries.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, forget about Gabe. All year long, let's never talk about Gabe. We know he's out, right? Okay,
yeah.
Perfect.
It's
great.
Yeah.
Right. It's a given. So right now, you're not really dealing with anybody. I'm talking about that's going to be on the roster.
Yeah.
As of now. So I think what you do is you do keep Olausson, because I do believe that he has deserved it. 22. Olausson.
Yeah.
Not Olausson. Olausson. 22. He plays a heavy game. He is more suited for LOC and Cog in my book. That doesn't mean that Ben Myers can't be serviceable. Now you're going to say, and we talk about this all the time, he doesn't have to clear waivers, so it's not even a conversation. But we're saying everybody's got Ben Myers on their rosters. You know what I mean? Like we know that. Let's say Ben had to clear waivers, so it's not like you're automatically losing Frederick Olofsson.
Yeah.
On waivers, but there's a big chance that you do, especially after the preseason that he's having. There's teams watching. There's every night. Tonight, there's probably 10, 12 teams there at Ball Arena. That's just the way it is.
But
go ahead. No, but
I just think regardless of whether they think he would get claimed or not, they were willing to go out and actively trade for the guy, even if it was future considerations.
No, but I'm saying like as far as asset management. So obviously Ben Meyer does not have to
Yeah.
There are waivers. He goes. Now, which brings me to Riley Tufte,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay, great. You know, what I'd like to know, and we don't know the answer because we don't know the answer, is, you know, if you look at Riley, he's a first-rounder, late bloomer, right? Had a tough first 3 years. His entry level is, those were not very solid years in the American Hockey League with not a lot of call-ups. I mean, like you're talking about not
Has
many.
barely played in the NHL.
Barely playing the NHL. So they do qualify him after his entry-level deal. He has the best season last year that he's had at the American League level. Forget about the NHL level. He plays a few games, but he does end up having a way better season, but they don't qualify him. You know, so now, what was the level of interest this summer for Riley Tufte on July 1st? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know the answer. So let's say somebody was really dying to get him. They didn't get him because he signed with the Avs. Maybe that team is Team X, and they've been watching the last few games. Yeah, there is a chance he gets claimed on waivers, right? Because of those reasons, you know. And he is a tall guy. He is he's got size. He's played well. Who knows? But that's the risk you'll be willing to take if that's what you decide to do.
So I have two questions when it comes to Tufte. One, we saw him celebrate pretty hard scoring on his ex-team with that first goal,
Yeah.
which, you know, I get that. But is there a little bit of motivation there? Is this a guy that can say, hey, Dallas didn't want me? Is that enough to drive him to take the next step in his career and become a full-time NHLer? I don't know.
Not knowing what his market was in, like Eric said, on July 1st. I don't think it's an accident he ended up in a division rival.
Fair
If
enough.
you see the way he celebrated that goal,
Yeah.
that's not a normal.
Yeah, in preseason.
Yeah,
Like,
we've seen him. He scored 2 other goals
he
in the preseason,
did not
and
look
it
like
was
that after.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think there's an axe to grind. So yeah, I think there was extra motivation for him in this one, and there will be motivation for him to prove the Stars wrong.
And number two, assuming health, assuming he's a winger, are Colorado looking at him as someone who can play a 13th forward role, someone they're comfortable with sitting in the press box? Or is this a, hey, we want this guy to play more games, we're going to take the risk of a potential claim, we'll send him down, and we'll call him up if we need that guy to fill that role, but I'm just not sure whether they think he's NHL ready and to be able to play that role or not.
I'll add more to it before you say anything. Exactly what you just said, but when it's a full lineup, when I'm talking about all the forwards are in the lineup,
Yeah.
it's an easy place to play tonight.
Yeah.
You're getting some minutes, you're getting in your rhythm, you're getting some
Yeah.
power play time, you feel good about your game. It's a different game when Wood's there, Colton's there, Tatar's there.
Yeah.
The list goes on that weren't there tonight. So then you're sitting on the bench and you're asked to go play 5-6 minutes. It's not the same game as you had tonight. It's a tough game. Not everyone can do that. I do believe that Olausson, 22, can do that. I'm not comparing to Tufte. I don't know. I've never seen Tufte play 6 minutes. It's a tough task. It is really tough. So I don't know. And that's a decision that they're going to have to, to figure out. And we'll see what happens.
I will say, you look at his goal tonight and you feel pretty good about that. Get to the front of the net, put your stick on the ice, good things happen. That's how you're going to score some goals. In
Goal
a
starts
smaller
with his
role
work
like
on
that.
the wall.
Yep.
And Olausson on the wall.
Wins,
My guy.
wins that battle and then goes to the net, uses that size, the reach, and he's got good.
Yeah.
It's good redirection.
Yep.
Hey, it's great things.
My other question would be: it's not something that we've talked about, but what if the Avs just said, "These are our 6D," and they carry two extra
and
forwards?
just don't carry a D.
Yeah, because they look at it and they say, "Okay, we know that this is not what we want Curtis McDermott to be thinking about, but in an emergency,
They can do it.
we
yeah.
have this available to us." And they say we want to see what Tufte and Olausson, or Tufte and Myers, who all three of them, because if they were to carry both, they could decide, hey, we want to carry these three guys, or they could carry Olausson, McDermott, and Tufte if they wanted to do both of them. And because we've been talking about, this 1 and 1,
Yeah.
Right.
who's going to be the 7th D? Well, maybe they just decide for the start anyway. No, we just won't do it.
My only hang up about that is you still aren't sure what you're going to get out of Josh Manson to start this season.
Yeah, well, and obviously you'd only make that decision if there was confidence that he's healthy.
Yeah.
You would see him play the next 2 preseason games, and you would say, we're good. He feels good. We all feel good about where we are with this. We're gonna take this chance.
And you got to remember, it's all about, again, I use that word and I hate it, asset management. And they're going to figure out what's their best way not to lose anybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right? And you do hear things, and you do, I don't care. People do talk in press boxes, and you do know what the level of interest of player X, like say Tufte or whatever.
The
we'll
Avs
see.
have always been very, very comfortable of simply saying, you're the guy who's waiver exempt, so
Yeah.
you're going down.
If you were trying to keep a guy, wouldn't you put him through now when there's 60 guys going through? Because
We
teams
said that before.
Yeah, you were saying that the other
teams
day.
aren't claiming guys because they're still going through their own roster battles. They're not going to add a new guy to the mix at the end of it.
I know.
So if you were trying to sneak a guy like a Tufte through, wouldn't you just send him tomorrow? Like, you've seen what you want to see. You've made your decision. Hey, we love what you've done. We want to keep you. We want to see you. Whenever we have an injury, we know that we're gonna turn to you.
Yep.
But we also know that we also feel like we could lose you. Send him now instead of waiting till last cuts when teams are at the fringe of their rosters. They have made all of those decisions, and they say, okay, well, we're deciding between Riley Tufte and random 13th forward in Anaheim or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, wouldn't that be a guy that you're like, send him now and just try and get him through?
He has been impressive. Like I said, like I wasn't a fan. Like I'm talking about, and it's not important 3 years ago, but right away you write guys off, right? And that's just the nature of the business. You do. You know, not everyone's got the Nikushkin story. You know what I mean? Where you
would say
drop
just
so
about
low
nobody
and then,
has that
I mean,
story.
it's just like, and I'm not saying he dropped that low. I'm saying it, but it's the same organization, first round pick, right? Chuchu was a first round pick, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah, 10th overall.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So kind of a similar story, you know, tall guy, all of a sudden can't put it together. They qualified Choo-Choo, and then he ended up going to Russia, right? If you remember, right? So it's a little bit of the same story, and I'm not saying it's going to be the same
Ultimately,
outcome.
they bought him out though. Like they paid money for
and then
him to go away.
because he had that big season in the NHL, right? He had like 18 goals, I believe, or something like that, or 15 goals, and then they had to give him the money, or they didn't have to, but they did.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't work out.
Yeah. And then he had a 0 goal, 10 assists.
He went over
57
100 games
games
without
or
a goal.
something, yeah.
Like, I mean, 100 games without a goal. Like, it's unheard of. But Tufte, who knows? And like I said, that's why I would love to know the level of interest July 1st. It would just help me right now with my level of confidence, you know. And then there's always that talk every year about waivers and, you know, oh my God, he's going to get picked up. But you never know. There's guys that have been picked up over the years that you're like, oh, wow, your jaw drops. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe they got picked up, you know?
Ty Emberson got picked up yesterday.
I mean, Lassie Thompson got picked up as a recent first round pick. You understand with Lassie Thompson.
Totally.
And especially as a big right shot D that can skate.
Yeah.
You're like, come on, this is like catnip
Could totally
for
see
waivers.
why someone would give this guy a chance.
Exactly. And like, there's a reason that the first team on the list said, yes, please.
But that's the same thing with Tufte. There's a reason you can see why.
Yep.
The size, he's got nice speed right now. He's playing with some confidence. He's playing with, Rudo just said it, he's got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't get that. I'm going to rewind the tape a little bit, Sam Bennett. You know, everyone's like, oh, Sam Bennett, Sam Bennett. I'll tell you one thing. Sam Bennett was never going to work out in Calgary. He was done. He was moving on, ready to move on. You weren't going to get a new Sam Bennett until he was gone. Right or wrong. And then all of a sudden goes to Florida, and it's like, oh, my God, here's the real Sam. But it wasn't going to happen in Calgary. You know, so maybe that's the same story with Riley and Dallas. I don't know. I didn't really follow him for the last 4 years to tell you the story. But you know, you never know. But Rudo said it. There's a chip on his shoulder. You saw it with that goal today, and like he was pumped. You know what I mean? So we'll
is
see.
Dallas like Jesse Pinkman to the Avs, screaming that he can't keep getting away with it with Nemeth, Nichushkin, if Tufte and Olusson work out?
I was gonna say,
too,
if these
like-
two work out, yeah, they might be letting guys go into free agency and giving them money under the table to not go to Colorado. We'll give you $100K in cash to sign in Calgary or something. Just please stop going to the Avalanche.
Because
But it's amazing what fit does to people.
Yeah.
Right? You know,
That's the other,
it.
like, we talk about fit a lot. You and I talk about fit a lot, not on camera, but like,
yeah.
how do guys fit into an organization? How do they fit into an attitude, an ethos, you know, a play style? You know, we love culture on this pod. You know, that all of those things are are huge. And at least at the moment, sure looks like Tufte and Olusson.
Maybe there's a team like Buffalo, right? If you look at Buffalo, what they've done the last 2 years, right? Greenway, Tuck, right? Thompson, big guys that can skate. You know what I mean? Obviously, he's not in the same category as Thompson. And
Sure.
But I'm talking about there's six. What's Tufte? 6'6"?
He's I think
6'6", yes.
Yeah, 6'6", and you can skate. I mean, that's a fit somewhere. There's a fit for a team like Buffalo. You know?
There's also a thing about big guys like that, especially his career. He was drafted out of high school.
Yeah.
He was not playing major junior. He was not already in college. He was
Very
out
much
of high
someone
school.
who has to grow into that body a little bit.
And this is a thing. This is a thing that being a lifelong diehard basketball fan taught me, is that some of these big guys that you look at and you're like, how are you so big? They wonder the same thing. You know, a lot of these guys have growth spurts where I grew 5 inches over the summer or whatever, and it takes them years to figure out the coordination at the size that they're at.
Yeah.
Forget being 6'6". Look at Miko's first couple of years as an NHLer.
Where he looked like Bambi on ice.
Right.
Oh man, the list goes on, right? You know,
Yeah,
the list goes
guys
on.
that are that big, it takes time for some of them to figure. I mean, everybody loves the Nichushkin story. You know, everybody loves that's the ultimate reclamation project, and that would be. I mean, even if they got the first season of Nichushkin in Colorado,
You take
where
that
he was 27 points
times
or
out
something.
of 100. Yeah.
That guy, if they were to get that out of a Riley Tufte or a Frederick Olausson,
Outstanding.
it's a home run for them.
Yep.
Maybe it's 2 home runs for them.
If they hit both of those,
Oh, I mean, at that point, Dallas really is paying people to not come to Colorado. But
well, and I think it even goes beyond that. As you guys mentioned, culture and fit. It's hard not to feel really good about a lot of these guys right now. You look at a Jonathan Drouin, seemingly culture and fit so far. You look at someone like a Tomas Tatar, who I know there's not a ton of footage on this preseason so far, but in what we've seen of him out of things like camp, you're like, that looks pretty good.
I mean, he's got 700 NHL games played. Tomas Tatar is one of those guys you're like, we're pretty comfortable with what he is.
Yeah, but even look, plenty of guys have come to teams with a lot of NHL experience,
Yeah,
and it's been
true.
Look at Derek Brassard in Colorado.
Look at Tomas Tatar in Vegas.
There are places where it doesn't work, and I haven't seen a whole lot of that so far this preseason with Colorado.
Yeah, there haven't been a lot of square pegs, round holes.
Yep.
You know, it's been a lot of good fits. So,
On that note, we are brought to you by Circa Resort and Casino. If you didn't check out all of our content from Vegas, you should probably go check that out. You can see a whole lot of Circa, including Stadium Swim, the big old swimming pool with the gigantic television. There also was the Legacy Club, which is a place I will never go to again in my life. Not because it was bad. It was incredible. It's just way too nice. It was so nice that I was like, I don't even know if I should be here anymore. So if that's your type of stuff, you got to check out Circa. You got to get out to them. If you haven't been out there yet, Fremont Street is an awesome place to go hang out in Vegas anyway. And then in Circa, you're going to have everything you need. So go vibe over at Circa if you haven't been yet. They're a great place in Vegas to do whatever it is you want. And when you go over there and sign up with your stay at, I think it's circusports.com. Yeah, it is circusports.com. And you use code DNVR, you get 20% off your stay. So that's 20% off chilling in Vegas. It's not expensive to go to Vegas, fam. AJ is out here looking up flights to Vegas on like private jets, and even that's affordable. So
yeah, it was, what was it? We looked at it the other day.
It was like $250 or something.
It was a private jet. It cost $570 round trip to go.
Yeah, so you can do it. You can save up a little bit and get out to Vegas, and when you do,
Don't be giving my secrets out on air. You shouldn't have talked about it.
I referenced it, and you went
Shit.
in. All right, that's on you.
I wasn't even thinking about it.
Go check them out. And, of course, if you want, you can use the Circa Sportsbook as well. You can download their app. Of course, Circa Sports bets can only be made while physically located in Colorado. Must be 21 or older. All rights reserved. Circa Sports Colorado encourages you to gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER or visit problemgamblingcolorado.org. Also brought to you by the people that are on my read right here that I'm prepared for. Oh yeah, it's our folks over at Volo. They were in the bar again today. The bar was kind of packed today for football, to be
Those
fair.
dudes are intense.
Dude, they never stop. They go hard when it comes to the bar. Volo is the largest social sports company in the U.S. You can get in on the action yourself. Use that QR code on screen or go to volosports.com/Denver today. Use code DNVR10 to sign up for their Volo Pass. You get $10 off. It's $20 a month for unlimited drop-ins, pickups, and tournaments. So you can play whatever sports you want, whenever sports you want, all fall long. Get it while you can. It's great stuff, great fun, all sorts of sports. I assume most of the people that watch us are like sports people, given that we're a sports show. So
There are a few that aren't.
I'm sure. And even then, you can come with Volo Sports and play Flip Cup at the bar.
Those are emotional support sports fans.
Is Flip Cup a sport? I don't know.
It's like chess.
Is
It's a
chess
hobby.
Okay, well, there's probably a chess Volo league for all I know. Go check them out. See all the tons of leagues they have. volosports.com/Denver to sign up today. They have leagues all over the state. You can find one for you, and you can try their beta pass for just $10 a month for the first 3 months. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. I did want to get into this. I know we were having a long conversation about maybe the Avs only run 6th D. If you have to take a 7th right now, is it just Brad Hunt, or did some of these guys take a step forward? You have Olausson, you have Malinsky. I thought Corey Schooneman actually looked pretty good as a reliable defensive D. Did some PKing tonight. Silence.
Right.
Silence from the crowd.
No, I mean, I don't mind the theory of going with 6. I know you're saying, what's your 7? I think right now, Brad Hunt's your 7.
Okay.
I mean, that's just what I think, because this is now the management talking to me. Like, you want Malinsky to play. You want,
Of course.
my guy number 5 there. I didn't mind him at all.
Amat,
Like,
yeah.
I don't. Again, sorry, I'm just butchering names.
Keeps
but-
getting beat wide.
Yeah, but still, he made some good things, and I don't mind them, coming up, pitch for a few innings. So yeah, I like to have guys playing. I don't want them sitting. And I'm not saying and I'm not making fun of Brad Hunt. Like, I've seen Brad Hunt sit one year like 30 games in a row in Vegas, I think. You know what I mean? It's it's not easy, but he
tough
knows
job
how to
to
do
fill,
it.
yeah.
He knows how to do it. So, but I think you're gonna say, but don't we want him in Colorado, in down the street
their-
in Loveland,
he's their
you know what I
captain,
mean? The
yeah.
captain to work with the
you'd
younger
love
guys.
that.
Yeah, exactly. So pick your poison, right? I mean, where do you want him? So, somewhere, somehow, he is serviceable. I'm a big fan of Brad. I am as a 7th guy, 8th guy, ideally, like AJ always says. I'm not stealing his line, but I do agree with AJ. You know what I mean? He's ideally your 8th guy, right?
I mean,
so
let's be honest. If you're talking perfect world, Jack Johnson's probably your 7, right?
Yes.
bang on right there. Yeah.
And you're out there finding a 6, not a 7.
Well, in your perfect world, Sam Malinsky is your 6.
Yeah, sure.
And look, I'm just gonna say, Sam Malinsky and Sam Girard were great tonight.
Well,
Obviously, that's a not fully stocked Dallas lineup.
Yeah.
Like recognized,
Catch
but
your W's where you can.
yeah, but they were great tonight. They were great together. This was by far the best Malinsky
Okay.
we've seen in the preseason.
If they are pairing together again, is it Sam and Sam's son, or is it Sam and son of Sam?
Oh, I like that.
These are questions that we are way ahead of schedule.
I know, but I want to have a little fun.
I like
with
that
it.
you're there already, though. I appreciate that.
Here's what I like about those two is they can escape trouble, right? You know what I mean? Like they're gonna be
With
like,
their feet,
oh,
they
they're-
can escape
exactly.
trouble, yeah.
They can escape. Again, if you're gonna compare them and say, oh, they're not the strongest in front of that, well, all right, perfect. Now you're nitpicking at their weaknesses because that would be their weaknesses.
Yeah,
But,
And guess what? That's why Josh Manson exists.
but that's
Like,
right. You know what I mean? So again, or else that Sam Girard would be making $12 million a year or whatever it is. Right? I'm just saying. So someone somewhere somehow Sam Girard, is a serviceable guy too, and they can move, they can skate, and it's exactly what the Avs need. They activate, and we know Malinsky activates. We know, again, it's a style, it's a fit of play. Obviously, for me, I'm a fan of Sam Girard, so not because he's French, just because I think he's been good.
But
He's
also
been-
because he's French.
because he's French too, yes, and he married a girl from here, like I did, So here you go. But yeah, so I think there's. it's a big argument to be made there. How do you carry 6, 7? Who knows? We'll see. And again, that's not one injury right now. I'm knocking on wood again.
And,
you know what I mean?
And this, to reiterate what AJ said earlier, injuries will happen, and all of these guys are going to get games at some point.
Yeah.
This is mostly a talk about how do the Avs look when they start the season.
Like, what's there in their eyes? What's the ideal?
Right.
Exactly.
So we'll see how it all shakes out ultimately. But I did think it was curious that the more we've seen, the more we've moved away from, hey, they need to go find a D. And it's like, maybe they just roll these offensive guys who've looked good.
Yeah, I mean, if you rolled out Gerard Malinsky and work to protect him a little bit,
Yeah.
and you let Byram Manson, and then Taves Makar, obviously, is your heavy lifter, and you treat Gerard and Malinsky as like hey, we're going to just pick our spots here.
Be
Especially at
predatory
home.
with their usage a little bit.
And you go 16-ish minutes a night. Gerard will
home.
probably get a little bit more because of special
he'll get
teams.
shifts with a Manson or a Byram or
Yeah,
whatever.
but like you go with that lineup. Like I like that lineup more than I like it with Jack Johnson, but I understand that their argument would be that Jack is proven,
safety blanket time.
he's trusted, and they know, and he has just being real. His time in Colorado has been perfectly fine.
Yep. He's
Yeah.
been a
Versus
perfect
for
bottom
whatever
pairing
reason,
guy down there.
He before he got here, it was a train wreck. The last few years for him.
Yep.
Before, and then he left. He goes to Chicago. It was a train wreck for him.
It comes
And he
back
comes
and
back,
it's immediately
and it's completely fine.
Yeah.
So they understand how to utilize him to get quality play out of him at a cheap price.
Yep.
So it's fine. Like it's not that we're all trying to replace Jack Johnson, but it's really not a bad situation. It's not where you want to be, but it's not a bad situation to be in.
Lastly, or if you have more to say, go
I'm
ahead.
good.
Lastly, I did want to talk about Olausson a little bit. We talked
Yeah.
about him starting slow in the first 2 games of the rookie tournament, had a much better third game. He's done a lot better through a couple of preseason games now. I don't think anyone has any illusions about him making the team this year or anything, unless it's a ways down the line. But are we starting to see the progress, the steps that you wanted to see out of him this offseason?
I would ask you,
Yeah.
given how this preseason has gone with
Yeah.
the injuries that they've had, has his play pushed him ahead of Jean-Luc Foudy?
He can't play center, which I know Foudy maybe can't.
Foudy
either.
doesn't really either,
I know.
so I'm not worried about that.
But yeah, I not anything against Foudy, but he's not on the ice, man. Like Olausson is out there doing it. So, and look, it's really hard not to see that shot and go, that plays in the NHL.
I mean, I know Christopher Gibson's not going to be in the NHL this year.
Yeah,
That's a great shot.
it is.
That wins the game tonight.
Yep.
It's a great shot.
And look, there are still some shortcomings there. The one I've been the most nitpicky about is his ability to protect the puck, and he still needs to work on that. But you can see where, if he figures that part of the game out, it's gonna work if he can just get there.
See, for me, Bednar, I think he talked about it tonight again, like position, some battles for some positions, right?
Yeah.
I think he's in a different position. I think he's in a position for later on. Like
Yeah.
if there's an injury,
I agree.
right? I think we
agree.
all
Oh,
agree.
yeah.
Because everyone's healthy. Again, knock on wood. He doesn't have a spot in the lineup for what he brings to a hockey game. Easy to play tonight, like we talked about. You're out there. I don't know what he played, 18 minutes, whatever it was. It's not going to happen in a regular season game unless he, I don't know, like Drouin gets hurt. And then, this is what he's playing for right now. He's playing to show that he can play in a top 9 position. He can play and he can be trusted. And like you said, he had a slow start a few weeks ago. Passed the test towards the end, has been good. These exhibition games, he's shown that he's got good size. He can shoot a puck. Again, on a regular season game with the guys you have in the lineup, if you're Bednar, he probably doesn't get on the ice, right, for that shot. But tonight he did.
Yep.
So he made the most of his opportunity, and that's what I like to see. And it might not be playing for now, but it's playing for later. And we didn't talk about it. It's like us tonight. It's not like we called each other, and we have 3 blue shirts, and it just looks fantastic on the air, And it was not planned.
All different shades, too.
Sometimes
Yeah.
lucky, yeah. I think you put it best. You talked about some of those guys at the end of the third period did not pass the test. In overtime, Olausson passed the test.
Exactly.
So
because in a regular season game, you're bang on. In a regular season game, it's not, whoever with Tufte, Olausson, and what was it,
Kivy.
Rantanen,
Yeah,
whoever
was
was
Kivy
out there. I
most
don't
of the
remember on
night.
that
Yeah.
goal was out there, but it's probably not them that's on the ice, right? It would be Cogs, LOC, guys like that. But they're put in that situation, and it's not like it's a miserable, failed test, but it's a failed assignment. The puck's in your net.
Yeah.
But like you just said, Oscar probably wouldn't be put in that situation, you would think, But then
Not
he
on the
passes the
NHL,
test, right?
Yeah.
So it's awesome. You make the most of your opportunities.
that's all I had, unless any of the two of you want to add something else.
I mentioned this to you earlier, but I want to ask Eric's opinion on it.
Yeah.
But is Tomas Tatar like the perfect guy for Oscar Olausson to be emulating?
Yep.
As you know, I am a Tatar fan.
Yeah.
Right? No, because of his name, best nickname in hockey, Tuna. I mean, really? Does it get better than that?
Great children's charity too with Taters Tots.
Yeah, I'm just saying, everything he smiles, yes, you're right. So if I'm Schneeks down there, Schneekloth, and again, you want to see yourself. You want to see your shifts and, what can you do better. But you also want to look at guys, you know what I mean? You want to look at players. And if I'm Schneeks, I show him Thomas Tatar's games all the time up here and say, hey, you're bang on. Let's emulate that style of play because Thomas Tatar has a sick wrist shot. He does have a sick wrist shot. He scored a lot of goals in this league.
You don't become a 7-time 20-goal scorer by not having a good shot.
Right. Exactly. And Oscar has a good shot. But then how do you mold your game after someone? Never thought about that. It's a great comparison, you know what I mean? Which I love. And then you look at it and you go play the game, I think it's important.
You think you see this a lot in veteran players like a Tatar who learn in the NHL, hey, especially on the defensive side of the puck, I don't have to make the play every single time.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to be in position and do my job. And as long as bad things don't happen, we'll get going the right way.
Well,
eventually.
and be an effective player that plays to your skills.
Yep.
He's got great size, but that doesn't mean he's ever going to be a physical guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not who he is.
Yep.
So learn to use that size in a different way, as long as you find a way to be effective. And with Oscar Olausson, the one thing that I wonder about is, can he figure out how to make what he is as a player work in the NHL at NHL speed with NHL against NHL competition?
Yep.
Some guys are quicker than others at realizing it, at making it work.
I will say, just comparing him to the first time we saw him in training camp in a preseason, I think he's getting it, that he's not going to be on Colorado's top line. He's probably not going to ever be in Colorado's top six.
And he's got to learn how to be that third line guy.
And so he
now.
has to figure out a way to be successful in a role that he's never really spent much time in his life. Being asked to do different things and not getting the ice time, not getting the puck touches that he is accustomed to. Having had a shot like that, he's been a focal point of offenses everywhere he's gone.
But what it does is it makes you see tonight, because we don't have the same information, as guys like Wade and the staff do.
Yeah.
Now it makes you realize this is what they saw, you know what I mean? Because they've seen so many viewings of that player, and this is what they're envisioning one day of him becoming that. So tonight, like you said, makes you think you know what? They saw something in him, and you're starting to see what it is that they saw in him.
Yeah.
Also, that shot's pretty good.
That's it. Yeah, that's
Well, and
it's all part of it, right?
That's an NHL skill, because we talk about this all the time of what does this guy do?
It's a huge conversation around Ben Myers right now.
Yeah.
It does a
maybe
lot
the
of things well,
conversation.
but what is NHL top end skill that Ben Myers brings?
Yep.
Yeah, it's we're almost there. Look, Avs are back in 10 days. NHL's back in 9 days with real regular season hockey. So we're getting there. It's a great time to become a DNVR diehard. If you want to sign up for a membership right now, obviously you've seen the ridiculous amounts of content we've put out over the past 2 weeks, and we're keeping it rolling here. We're getting ready. Actually sent these guys out our prediction sheet for the season this year. So our predictions are coming. You're going to want to see those videos, which should start this weekend, I believe. So
Hopefully.
get ready. That's all I got to say about it. We're bringing a lot of content to you. If you become a DNVR diehard right now, you not only get access to all of our exclusive content that is more than just here on the podcast, but you get a free shirt with your order, which is like half the price right there. And, you get access to things like bigger glasses at the bar, all sorts of awesome stuff. Go check it out. Consider supporting us. We do really appreciate that. The same way we appreciate likes and subscribes here on YouTube. Do that for us. Help us out a little bit, or throw us a 5-star review for those of you that listen to the podcast via Spotify or Apple Music, whatever it is. We will be back tomorrow with our normal 2:00 show. We got you all Monday through Friday next week. So keep it locked in here, and we will talk to you on the next one.